Free Bob, free Nick.
Free Bob, free Nick.
Free Bob, free Nick.
Free Bob, free Nick.
We're actually asking citizens across the world to take action very directly. And by scanning this QR code, they can go to a microsite that allows them to email the President of the Republic of Uganda. It's a very simple process. It takes less than 2 minutes. And we're asking Kenyans and East Africans and the world to essentially write an email to the President calling for the immediate release of Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyoo. There was a question about the diplomatic community. I think what we have learned in the press is that the UN Special Rapporteur, Mary Lelo, has already begun to censure Kenya for non-cooperation on human rights matters. And we have been told that Kenya, as a case, is now being referred to the UN Human Rights Council. We think that the case of Bob and Nick will be added to the complaints that we have about the state of human rights in the country, and therefore we call on the Kenya government to use all means necessary to return Bob and Nick to their families. Furthermore, that the Ugandan government has an obligation not to kidnap and to enforcibly abduct Kenyans while they are legitimately and legally lawfully in Kampala. So we are calling on the Ugandan government to release Bob and Nick back to their families. Thank you very much for coming today. We will continue to update you on the campaign. We will continue to remain active. And as we said at the beginning, we are now moving to the National Assembly and to Senate, and for them to raise their voices on this issue.
Jumbe kutoka kwa shirika la mawakili hapa nchini Kenya, Vocal Africa na Amnesty International kuhusu kutekwa nyara kwa Bob Njagi na Nicholas Oyoo nchini Uganda. Vocal Africa, chama cha mawakili wa Kenya na Amnesty International wameghadhabishwa na hatua inayoendelea inayohusu kutekwa nyara kwa Bob Njagi na Nicholas Oyoo, ambao siku 25 baadaye bado wako katika hali ya hatari. Kulingana na habari tulizozipokea ni kwamba hali yao ya kiafya imezidi kuzorota, na hali hiyo kuzorota huenda ikawa imetekelezwa na swala la mateso ambayo wanapitia, na mateso ambayo yanaendelea kuwaumiza na kuwaathiri wao kimwili. Japokuwa tumekuwa tukilalama kwa muda mrefu sasa, hatujaona hatua kabambe kuchukuliwa na Wizara ya Mambo ya Nje ya Kenya, japokuwa awali walikuwa wanajaribu kuonesha kwamba wanachukua hatua. Kwa wiki 2 zilizopita na hadi hivi sasa hapajakuwa na hatua yoyote, na hali ya Bob Njagi na Nicholas Oyoo kuendelea kuzuiliwa bila matibabu, bila mawakili na hata kuweza kuzungumza na familia yao inaendelea kuzua maswali magumu ambayo sisi tunataka yaweze kutekelezwa. Katika siku 3 zilizopita, zaidi ya watu 300 wameandika moja kwa moja ili kutuma ujumbe wa barua pepe kwa Rais Yoweri Museveni. Na hii campaign ambayo tulianzisha kama wiki iliyopita imeweza kutembea ngazi za kimataifa, na tunaomba wa Kenya, wana Afrika Mashariki na watu wote kwa jumla waendelee kuzingatia hii campaign na waweze kuandika ili kusisitiza kwamba hawa ndugu zetu waweze kuachiliwa haraka iwezekanavyo. Hii wiki Law Society of Kenya, Vocal Africa na Amnesty International tutaweza kufikisha malalamishi yetu kwa bunge la National Assembly vile vile na Senate ili waweze kuingilia haraka iwezekanavyo. Tunaiomba bunge iweze kusimamia na wahakikishe kwamba Nick Oyoo na Bob Njagi wameweza kulindwa. Mwisho, tunataka kusisitiza kwamba Yoweri Museveni na serikali yake waweze kutekeleza mambo 4 kama yafuatavyo. Kwanza kabisa, waweze kuelezea dunia nzima walipo Bob Njagi na Nicholas Oyoo, na waweze kuhakikisha kwamba wako salama, waweze kuachiliwa ili waweze kurudi nchini Kenya. La pili, tunataka serikali ya Uganda iweze kuhakikisha kwamba hawa ndugu zetu wawili watapata uwezo wa kuwakilishwa na mawakili na pia waweze kuonana na kuzungumza na familia zao. La tatu, tunataka kuona kwamba kutekwa nyara huku kuweze kuchunguzwa na wale wote waliohusika na hii hatua ya kuwateka nyara waweze kuchukuliwa hatua za kisheria. Na ya mwisho ni kwamba serikali ya Uganda ihakikishe kwamba inatekeleza haki za kujieleza, haki za kutangamana na vile vile haki ya kuandamana ambazo zimehakikishwa chini ya katiba ya Uganda, ya Afrika Mashariki na sheria za kimataifa.
Maybe just to speak on the ruling. So Justice Peter Kinobe, sitting in the High Court at Uganda on 22nd October 2025, issued a very retrogressive ruling on the habeas corpus application that was filed at the Ugandan High Court. The application sought that the Ugandan government, both the police and the military, disclose the whereabouts of these two Kenyans. Unfortunately, the judge in the ruling held that the police and the Ugandan military, have proven before this court and have sworn affidavits to indicate that they do not have them in their custody, despite having conducted several searches within all police stations and military camps in Uganda. Now, you do not need to be a rocket scientist to read out and see that that finding is a pure in law. It is one that was given either under coercion or under the rule and control of those in power. We all know the circumstances that led to these two people being abducted. It was in broad daylight, it was not at night, and we have witnesses who witnessed the two gentlemen being dragged into a van by people who donned military and Ugandan police uniform. So we are telling them that that is not enough. That is not enough explanation to both citizens of East Africa and the whole world just to tell us that we do not know or there was no formal report. Now the judge further goes and holds that you cannot squeeze blood from a stone, and now urges the families of both Bob and Nick to go and file missing person reports to the same police who say they do not know their whereabouts. Now that is illogical and reasonable and in fact pathetic and very, very much absurd. So what we are saying from this end of Kenya, and maybe as a society, is that we shall take further steps. Just like we did in the case of Boniface Mwangi and Agatha Turai, we are considering also filing a petition at the East Africa Court of Justice, because this is where the Jumuiya Court is, so that we seek interpretation and intervention of the East African Court to tell us the whereabouts of these two Kenyans. Now, let it not be forgotten that human rights and international rights are sacrosanct in right. Those are sacrosanct rights. These are God-given rights, just like right to life, freedom from torture and cruel and inhumane treatment. These, in fact, are violations of these rights can amount to crimes against humanity, and which can only be tried at the International Criminal Court. So these are the kind of offenses we are looking at and the atrocities that these Kenyans are facing. So we will not give up. We shall keep pushing. We shall use all available legal remedies, including right to demonstrate and picket as provided for under Article 37 from our end, and we shall also invoke the Jumuiya laws so that we can ensure the safe return of these two Kenyans back to their families. Thank you.
What we are doing here in Kenya may be of little impact to the Ugandan government to feel the coercion and the demand and the desire for release of our comrades. Now we are calling upon development partners of East Africa, that is IMF, World Bank, and even Africa Development Bank, to review their plans to fund some governments, especially Ugandan government, which has been known for notoriously abducting citizens of Uganda, not only Bob and Oyoo, citizens of Uganda, citizens of East Africa as well. We call upon Kenyans as well to write as many emails as possible to the World Bank, to the IMF, to the EU, to review the plans to fund these governments, because they are using these monies to set up ungazetted detention camps. That's why when we say, when the Judge Chinobe says that he doesn't have these people in their detention camps, it's true. They are not there in the gazetted camps, but they are there in some camps that are well known by a few people in the Ugandan government who are trying to unleash this terror to the East Africans. As well as we all know that we are in an electioneering period, it's also high time for these development partners to review whether this election is going to really be free and fair. Because as we speak now, we have Kenyans who are working for Museveni on these campaigns. I can give an example of Kasipul. He's well known here in Kenya. He's a media influencer, social media influencer. He's there strategizing for Ugandans on how to win, on how to pass the message, campaign message from Museveni to the Ugandans. So how is it a crime now when our fellow Kenyans still socialize and interact, associate with the opposition? Thank you.